Good morning, Future Works. Good morning, Future Works. There we go. My name is LaFawn Davis, and I'm the Chief People and Sustainability Officer at Indeed. Today, I have the absolute honor and joy of speaking with Janice Bryant Howroyd, founder and CEO at Act One Group. Now, Janice is a trailblazer in entrepreneurship and in humanitarianism. She is the first African-American woman to build and establish a multi-billion-dollar enterprise, Act One Group, which delivers total workforce solutions to 45 countries worldwide. Act One Group is the largest privately held woman and minority-owned workforce management company in the US and provides flexible, comprehensive solutions under 3 distinct business verticals: staffing, workforce solutions, and business services. Please join me in welcoming Janice to the stage.
It's on home week, right?
Thank you so much for being here, Janice. Let's start with your story. I think your story is incredibly inspiring. From setting up shop in the back of a Beverly Hills rug store in the late 70s with a
Great address, bad location, right?
There's probably a lot of foot traffic, with a $900 loan in your pocket to building a multi-billion-dollar global enterprise with over 17,000 clients. I'm so curious, what early influences shaped your entrepreneurial spirit?
It's interesting you're asking me this question now, or perchance the answer I give is rather interesting because, you know, LaFawn, had you asked me that maybe 3 years ago, my answer would have been different. I've had the occasion to think about it a little bit. And I recognize after making several trips home during this season that entrepreneurship ran in my family. It just wasn't licensed entrepreneurship. Now, y'all are laughing because you're taking it to the wrong place, okay? Let me explain what work looked like when I was growing up. You're looking at a 72-year-old woman who's one of 11...
I'm sorry, 72 where?
72 forward, right? Yeah, okay, you know, good black don't crack. Right. In any event, we got a short amount of time and a long story if you're talking about 72 years of living, and especially if you're talking about work, because work looked really different when I was growing up than it does today. For most. For some, it still looks the same. And so when I was a little girl, I remember on my way to school, early in my life, school was right across the street from me. So I'd go outside and have a few moments to play a little bit, and I saw women lined up in white uniforms and being picked up and taken off to work across Panola Street. Panola Street divided black from white when I was growing up. Let me give you context for those of you who don't understand. I grew up in a segregated Southern society, and I attended a segregated school up until my 11th grade year. And so I saw people lined up being picked up for work. Those same people later that day I would see walking home. And if you've ever seen Whoopi Goldberg's movie, The Long Walk Home, that is an expression of what life and work looked like when I was growing up. Yet inside of that, I saw professionalism, I saw organization, I saw budgeting, and I saw care. All the things we want to achieve in our roles in HR today. I think about it, and I also share something with you that speaks to emotional well-being, health care, you know, child care. all of these things were present and highly visible to me as a youngster. When I arrived in California on vacation many years later, at the invitation of my sister and her husband, Tommy Noonan, who my family was in the music industry. Y'all, I can't sing, so it ain't gonna happen up here. Well, I don't know, maybe, if we get in the road, because we were having a pretty good party before we came out here.
We were.
But here's the thing, and thank you for laughing, because, Chris spoke so beautifully when he said, and the whole theme of the energy of us being here is about better work leads to better lives. I described for you what the majority of work looked like that I witnessed as a child. The most professional people I knew as a child, and I've shared this publicly. If any of you've read my books, you've read it in there, that the most professional people I knew growing up were preachers and teachers, and many of them still are, thank God. But now sitting here, as you stated, with offices, I'm talking about brick and mortar, in over 45 countries, and utilizing technologies that allow people to work from wherever they are into wherever they choose to be, that's an incredible journey from then to now. Yeah. It carries with it incredible responsibility, as he spoke to. So the entrepreneurship of seeing people who maybe more often were intrapreneurs than entrepreneurs, bringing the same values and characteristics to their everyday lives, work, and communities was something that was highly visible for me. And I'm sure many people in this audience have, if not the same or similar experiences, relatable experiences to what that looks like. I believe that no matter who signs your check, you write it, okay? And so the spirit of entrepreneurship was alive and well. My grandma sold barbecue at lunchtime from her dining room to those white people I told you who lived across Panola Street. And she also found a way to serve the Black community from the shed that she cooked the barbecue in. Entrepreneurship, meeting customer demand, following rules, albeit unwritten at the time, of engagement, and servicing customers well in a way that elevated their estimation of each other so that they eventually came to eat at the same table in her dining room in the span of one generation. When we think about what AI can do and how and let me just say this right here, the relationship that we have at Act One with Indeed is one we prize because it is such an immaculate conception of working together in the very same customer relationships to deliver better work so that people do have better lives. And what we do wouldn't be so highly possible, affordable, and I think elegantly elevated if we weren't in that type of relationship with Indeed. So the entrepreneurship spirit also speaks to the ability to work together outside of your company and to aggregate best value that companies in related industries and same industries can bring forward. The last thing I want to say about my spirit of entrepreneurship is that I grew up in a culture and I live in a domain where we speak to doing well and doing good at the same time. That we are here seeking how we can grow companies that not only are allowing people better work, but allowing our nation and our allies healthier, safer, more secure environments. Therefore, the people who are working in these communities have safer, better, secure, not just systems, but communities, is an incredible task. And it's feeding all the way back through the procurement and HR organizations, whether we're thinking about it every day or not. Right. And I'm witnessing that doing business in 45 countries.
All right now. I feel like she dropped all of the gems. Thank you so much for that, Janice. What a beautiful journey to get to where we are now. Speaking of getting to where we are now, building a multi-billion, that's with a B, multi-billion dollar enterprise requires many, many, many employees to help grow the organization. Did you have any specific strategies for recruiting and retaining talent as you scaled your company over the decades?
So let me be transparent here. Early on building my company, no, I didn't have a strategy. I had a hot desire and some talent and a few angels along the way. Some of them are in this room, thank you. As my technology evolved, so then did my strategy need to. So I didn't take the traditional journey of, if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
Customers asked us to do more of what we were doing for them in new and different locations and new and different ways. And that's when I first got the idea, wait a minute, I'm gonna need a strategy behind this. One of the things that I do look at in terms of developing strategies around hiring is to be certain that we are hiring and looking for culture fits for people. Skills we can teach and talents we cannot gift. We can assure that people are placed well in emotional and I would say enhancing cultures. When I speak of enhancing cultures, I'm saying not just that, okay, they're gonna work well with us, because more of the same does not create a greater outcome.
Exactly.
When I speak of the cultural fit that we look for, it's how are we going to enjoy the spirit of innovation together? In my company, and back in the days when we all were going in the office every day, you see it on all the walls. Now you see it pasted electronically. Feet. Feet is the foundation upon which we built and continue to grow our company. And the F is freedom to innovate. And if I were speaking with my teams, I'd say, you know this, repeat it, or write this down. Feet is freedom to innovate. F. E is excellence in delivery, because everything and everyone matters. Invest the time to understand. That's been foundational for how we have grown our company from day one. What that looks like. When I started my company, I thought I was Judy Jetson when I got my first fax machine. Well, either you know Judy Jetson or you know what a fax machine is. Or some of y'all may know what both are, right? But here's the thing. I've always been fascinated by how human and machine can work together. And to sit here, once a nappy-headed little colored girl from Tarboro, North Carolina, and speak to you about not only developing our own systems, but working in strong and growing partnership with Indeed around how we are affecting lives every day. It's not just a beautiful journey, it's an incredible future that we're building and that we're discussing here. And so hiring people in who have a passion to deliver to that and who have the ability to not just be forgiven for mistakes, but encouraged, make them and recognize them early on, allows people to have a fulfillment in what they do. COVID put a lot of people in some dark places. And we're all in here happy and excited, and we were just backstage saying how incredible it is to see all the faces coming in, expectant of new ideas to take further. There's some people in here who are smiling around some dark stuff as well. They don't just live out there. So when we are thoughtful about how we build out solutions that integrate ethical AI, that allow people to express their fullest selves, and we learn from that. Because let me tell you, AI's name is Aisha, okay? And Aisha can deliver strongly when she is fed good, healthy information, and she can become that other word that I don't say, okay? You say it, right? You say that word. She can become that girl. If you're not feeding her healthy, strong information. Chris said the more you use it, the better it gets. That's true about a lot of things.
That's right.
But it's especially true about allowing people, hiring people who have that ability to do that. And you can't do a lot without having a few mistakes along the way. Learn from them, grow from them, elevate from them, and then express that generosity forward to everybody else you're working with. This is going to be a very humane discussion we're having here. And I think it's kind of important that it is, because in the wake of the AI-ness of everything, not just the technical jobs that were those factory jobs folks did in Tarboro, North Carolina when I was growing up, but also the nurses, the doctors, the lawyers, who I'm working with every day to day. AI does have the ability, the capacity, and the unknown density to integrate into our lives in some dynamic ways. And we do have an ethical responsibility to assure that we're feeding the best and the brightest information into it as we hire the best and brightest people to deliver that.
I love that you said that, Janice. Let's talk about Aisha for a second. I'm never going to be able to unsee that. Let's talk about AI as it pertains to talent acquisition and HR. So the role that I am in, I've only been in for a few months, but it is around people and sustainability. And for Indeed, what that means is, of course, HR, but it's also, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, social impact, environmental sustainability, and responsible AI. Let's talk about the role that Aisha plays with talent acquisition or HR roles to make them more strategic. And if you believe that, how so?
Well, first of all, let's be very clear that I do believe that. Second, let's understand that faith without works is dead. We're putting a lot of faith in the technology that we invest in. We're putting faith behind our revenue streams. We're putting faith behind our currency, and we're putting faith in it behind how we are meeting regulatory requirements, as well as how we're just good community citizens who are building brands forward that are strong and last beyond one generation. And so when we think about the AI-ness of how we deliver from what we do, remember a few minutes ago, I think it was just a few, when I shared about having a fax machine? Yes. And how dynamic that was for me?
It was exciting. It was, I remember.
In any event, the thing about the AI-ness of HR is that for years I've said we must keep the humanity in human resources. And that was more of a rally cry when I started saying that 40 years ago. Fast forward, it is an urgency that we do that. The strength of everything we use, and my teams are using AI every day in how we deliver. And it's amazing the things we're learning, not just about the talent and the accessibility to talent. We're learning about the behaviors of our clients. Again, Chris said the more you use it, the better it gets. The more you correctly use it, the better it gets. We're learning from our clients, and we're able to encourage different behaviors. We're able to discover and predict in different ways what they can expect in terms of not just talent availability to them, but how the talent who would be available to them perceive them. That's a big thing. We used to witness that in day-to-day, and we still do. But now we have that available to us in a rich and in a data platformed way. The other thing I want to say about AI and how we're using it every day in how we work is that, when you look at the need for companies to aggregate talent pools that are responsive and responsible to their brands, there's never been a better time to be able to do that than as we are working with the outcomes of how we've built our systems from and on AI. We are building talent pools that we take advantage of from not only our statement of work platforms, not only the RPO communities that we service into, and the relationship we have with you at Indeed. And we're able to have talent that's already familiar with what a company is going to need from a brand, a culture, as well as a skill point of delivery.
Amazing.
That's a dynamic thing. People talked about, and you may recall this. I mean, you're a young chippy here sitting here.
That's so sweet.
We got to be careful when we're in HR when we refer to anything personal, right? But since you and I, we got it like that.
Yeah, we bonded.
Okay. In any event, when I think about how we spoke around water coolers about what was it then? It wasn't Gen X yet, right? It was the millennial generation. You guys remember talking about that? Or are you yourselves the millennials in the room? In any event, we can talk about any generation of worker, but in particular, we talked about millennials and how they approached work and how they felt about work from a culture perspective. AI is allowing us now to match a company's brand forward to Gen X and Gen YZ and expect a certain type of relationship walking in that's been very different, because that cuts down on the cost of talent transition. It cuts down on the cost of having to teach people those soft skills that they historically have not brought to the workplace. It's just amazing. I mean, I could go on and on about it, but the thrill of it, to humanize it, to be able to use data. And we know that when we use truthful data, we all do better. When we use whole data and when we use full data, then we soar, not just as individuals, but as companies and as communities and as countries. And that's important more than ever right now in our world. Most companies, regardless of their size, are doing business, if not on a global basis, from a global contribution. I think it's
100%.
Remarkable that we're able to do these kinds of things together. I'd love us to have a session and just talk about some of the processes and outcomes that we've enjoyed.
Oh, we will, because we're best friends now. So I want to thank you so much, Janice, for sharing your story. It is incredibly inspiring. And I think you're right. We are all here to create a better world of work.
Yeah.
Everyone, please thank Janice for being here on the stage with us today.